I'm Jonny Casino, and this is a Megadeth's hardware review. The Switch has been out for almost 3 years now, and I have had the chance to try a few of the different controllers out there. So maybe you need a new controller, or maybe you just got a new Switch for Christmas and you want to get a second controller. Here's the problem. Some of them are expensive, some of them are garbage. I haven't tried them all, but I'm here to show you a few that I have and let you know what I think about them. The first controller everyone knows about, and it is by far the best, but I have to start with it, is the actual Pro controller. This controller does it all. It's got the motion, it's got the HD rumble, it feels good in your hands, it's nicely weighted, it is an amazing controller. The problem with these controllers is they are expensive, right? So, maybe you want a second Pro controller. Maybe if you want to put the money out for it, it's a great one to go with. But maybe you don't want to pay that kind of cash. So what are some other options? For those of you out there that want a quality controller that feels a bit like the Pro controller, but will be a whole lot less expensive, you have the PowerA. So this is a PowerA wired controller. Funny thing, you can unplug it, but you can't play with it unplugged. Now, there is a wireless version that I believe is almost exactly the same. Now, this controller is pretty solid. It works well, it's got good response to it. It feels good when you're holding it, the triggers, the buttons, everything. It feels nice, it plays nice. It's actually a pretty solid controller. Now, there are a few drawbacks to it. The first is that it is wired. Now, granted, this is a long cord. Most people can probably have it plugged in and still sit back on the couch and play, but you gotta be careful because you get too excited, you pull on a little bit, here comes your Switch, now your Switch is broken. So you gotta be careful or just sit a little bit closer. The other problem is it does not have rumble. Now, how important is rumble? It really depends on the game. There are times when I really miss rumble if I'm playing without it, and there's other times when I just don't even notice. But outside of that, it is a solid feeling, solid controlling controller. It is good, and you can often find these for less than $15. And you get them with a bunch of different faces on them, so some of them are really cool looking. I would really like to have one of the wireless ones, just so I can try it out and see if it's exactly the same. My understanding it is. It is a worthwhile controller to get if you're looking to save a little bit of money and you want the experience of a normal looking and feeling Pro controller. Now for one of my favorite controllers I own, but maybe not one that's for everybody. Also from PowerA. This is the GameCube controller, right? So it's an actual Switch controller, but it's made to look like the GameCube controller, which the GameCube controller is probably one of my favorite controllers of all times, although in retrospect, it does have its flaws. It's made by PowerA, so it has the same quality of all the PowerA products, which I've yet to find a big problem with any PowerA product. It does have the motion controls. Like the wired PowerA controller, it doesn't have the rumble, which is something I miss. It's also, if you are playing it for most games, it can be a little bit awkward. Anything where you're playing dual stick, it can be a little bit awkward because you got the stick over here. It's weird, but it works. It works perfectly, and both of them are push button, just like everything else. Here's the other thing. If you play with this controller a lot, and then you go try to play with another controller, your A, B, X, and Y are kind of in weird places. Now, I recently got the Nintendo 3D All-Star Collection, or whatever it's called, right? So it has Mario Sunshine and Mario 64, and this was actually a great controller to play both of those games. Honestly, I use this controller for a lot of other games as well. The D-pad's a little bit small, but how often are you really using the D-pad for a lot of games? You have the L and R and the LZ and RZ, whereas the original GameCube controller, I think only had either L or R. I don't remember which one it was. It was missing one of these, but they're all here for this, and they work just like a Pro controller, and it is extremely comfortable. It feels good in the hands. It is a very solid controller. It's a little bit of nostalgia. If you're looking for one, I think I got it on sale for maybe $40, so not too bad of a price, and I really enjoy it. I recommend it for someone who's okay with one that's a little bit different, but also kind of comfortable, and it's just a good solid controller. It really is. Another little downside is it does take batteries. Now, for some people that's great. For other people, that's kind of a downside. It takes AA batteries. I have a whole bunch of rechargeable batteries because we have a bunch of different controllers in this house, so it's never been a problem for me. But some people might not like that. But it is a great controller. So the next controller I have to show you is probably one of my least favorite, but I do enjoy it and it does have its purpose. This right here is from 8BitO. It's the NES 30 Pro. Now, they have some other ones that are lesser versions of this that just have the D-pads and the 4 buttons and whatever else, but this has every button you need to be able to play any game on your Switch. And it can be used for a computer and stuff like that too. Let's talk about the good about the controller. It has, like I said, it has every button you need. It is lightweight. It is actually very comfortable to hold on to. If you are playing an NES game on your Switch, it is a great controller to have. Plus, it just kind of has the look. Now, let's talk about some of the downsides of this one. And sadly, there's quite a few. Your thumbsticks are tiny. They push in, they work for what you want them, but they are tiny. If you're playing a twin stick game, it's not the best. The L1, R1, L2, R2, which is how they're labeled on this one here, are not the best because they are here for the outside ones and here. So you wrap your finger around and you can push it with different parts of your fingers and it works, but it's just not what your hand is used to. And so therefore it's just a little bit of the knock. Now the D-pad is solid. The D-pad is solid because once again, if you're playing an NES game and you're just using the D-pad, it works perfect. It connects great. It works good. It is a good controller with a lot of limitations. Now the upgrade to that one happens to be probably my favorite third-party controller. And it's the one that I use, if I'm not using the Pro controller, this is the controller I use. This is the SN30 Pro by 8BitO. Once again, solid piece of hardware. 8BitO does a good job. I've never had a problem with anything they've ever made. But if you notice with this one, you have much bigger thumbsticks, right? These are full-size thumbsticks. They're inline, so if that's a problem for you, then, well, I can't do anything about that. But they're solid, they feel good, they have good movement to them, they're the full size. You got your A, B, X, and Y over here. You've got your D-pad, it's a solid D-pad. Once again, if you are playing Super Nintendo games or playing NES games on your Switch, this is a great controller to use because you have the better D-pad and it has more of the feel of the controller you'd be playing it on in real life. But if you're playing just any other Switch game, you can do it on this. Unlike the NES 30 Pro, your L and R buttons are perfectly placed. They're above each other and below. They got a little fatness tube down here for the triggers. It's comfortable. Super Nintendo has always been a very comfortable controller, and this is shaped just like it. It is a great controller. You can get these things probably on sale. If you catch them at the right time, 20, 30 bucks. I think I maybe paid 40 for this one, and I absolutely love it, and I take it with me everywhere. Now, they have upgraded versions of this one that have like an elongated handle coming off each side, more like the way that, like this part right here. And they have those on there. And maybe that's better for you. I personally would prefer it to be just how it is, just the shape it is. I just really love this controller. For me, if I'm not playing with my Pro controller and I'm not playing Mario Sunshine, I'm gonna be using this right here. Guys, it is just a great controller. I highly recommend this one right here. Now the last thing I have to show you isn't necessarily a controller, but it's something you might be interested in if you have other consoles and you are looking to have other controllers for your Switch. What I have is the Magic NS for Switch. What this allows you to do is you plug it into your Switch, the USB, you set it on the right input depending on what type of controller you're going to be using, and then you Bluetooth your controller to this. Now, it will make it work just like a Pro controller. Now, the only issues you're going to run into are going to be your A, B, X, and Y might not be exactly right? Like, because A, B, X, and Y on a Nintendo controller is different than Xbox. And you can throw in PlayStation in that, and it's a whole different ballgame. But you can use Xbox controllers, PlayStation controllers, you can use Wii U Pro controllers, you can use third-party Wii U controller. You plug it in, you sync it up. I've had those moments when it's taken me a little bit to get it connected, and it's been a little bit of a pain, but I've always been able to make it work, and it's always worked great, and it just gives you that option for an extra controller. You can get it for about, I think you probably catch it on sale for 15, so it's gonna be somewhere between 15, 20 bucks. 8BitO makes another one that actually looks like a Mario block. I've heard good things about it, and it works similarly, and it should be good. But, you know, if you're not getting this specific one, make sure you read the further reviews on that and make sure you know it's gonna work for what you want. I'm Jonny Casino. This has been a Megadeth's hardware review of Nintendo controllers that you can use on your Switch. Whether you just got a Switch or whether you've had one for 3 years, you're probably in need of a new controller at some point. these are some options that I think are good, and I'll see you next time.